The Sallarid dynasty was an Iranian Muslim dynasty ruled in Tarom, Samiran, Daylam, Gilan and subsequently Azerbaijan, Arran, some districts in Eastern Armenia in the second half of the 10th century. They constitute the period in history that has been named the Iranian Intermezzo, a period that saw the rise of native Iranian dynasties during the 9th to the 11th centuries. Early years. The Sallarids were Daylamites who, probably in the later 9th century, gained control of Samiran, a mountain stronghold about 25 miles north of Zanjan. From Samiran they established the rule over the surrounding region of Tarom. The Sallarids also established marriage ties with the neighboring Justanid dynasty of Rudbar. Mohammed Bin Musafir. In the early 10th century, the Sallarid in control of Samiran was Mohammed Bin Musafir. He married a Justanid and subsequently involved himself in their internal affairs. His harsh rule, however, eventually turned even his family against him, and in 941 he was imprisoned by his sons Wasudam ibn Muhammad and Mars Ubben. Azerbaijan under the Sallarids. Mars Ubben ibn Muhammad Wasudam remained in Samiran while Mars Ubben invaded Azerbaijan and took it from its ruler, Daylam. Mars Ubben took Dvin and successfully held off attacks from the Rus and Hamdanids of Mosul. However, he was captured in a war with the Buwahid Rukn al-Dawla. In control of Azerbaijan was fought over between Mohammed bin Musafir, Wasudan, the Buyids, and Daylam. Eventually Mars Ubben escaped and re-established control over Azerbaijan and made peace with Rukn al-Dawla, marrying off his daughter to him. He ruled until his death in 957. Mars Ubben's successors. Mars Ubben had designated his brother Wasudam as his successor. When he came to Azerbaijan, however, the commanders of the fortresses refused to surrender to him, recognizing instead Mars Ubben's son Justan ibn Mars Ubben I as his successor. Unable to establish his rule in the province, Wahuzdan returned to Tarom. Justan was recognized as ruler in Azerbaijan, with his brother Ibrahim ibn Mars Ubben I made governor of Dvin. Justan seems to have been interested primarily in his harem, a fact which alienated some of his supporters, although he and Ibrahim successfully put down a revolt by a grandson of the Caliph al-Muqtafi in 960. Shortly afterwards Justan and another brother, Nazir, came to Tarom, where they were treacherously imprisoned by Wasudan, who sent his son Ishmi to take over Azerbaijan. Ibrahim raised an army in Armenia to oppose Ishmi, prompting Wasudam to execute Justan, his mother and Nazir. Ibrahim was driven out of Azerbaijan by Ishmi, but retained his rule in Dvin. Ishmi died in 962, however, allowing Ibrahim to occupy Azerbaijan. He then invaded Tarom and forced Wasudan to flee to Daylam. In 966 Ibrahim was defeated by an army of Wasudans and his soldiers subsequently deserted him. He fled to his brother-in-law, the Buyid Rukn al-Dawla, while Wasudan installed his son Nuh in Azerbaijan. Rukn al-Dawla sent an army under his vizier to reinstate Ibrahim in Azerbaijan, and Wasudam was ejected from Tarom for a time. In 967, however, he again sent an army, which burnt Ardabil before Ibrahim concluded a peace with his uncle, ceding part of Azerbaijan to him. In 968 he reaffirmed Sallarid authority over Shirvan, forcing the Shirvanshah to pay him tribute. Ibrahim's authority began to decline in the latter part of his reign. In 971 the Shaddadids took Ganja, and Ibrahim was forced to recognize the rule in the city after a siege failed to dislodge them. In around 979 he was deposed and imprisoned. He died in 983. His deposition marked the end of the Sallarids as a major power in Azerbaijan, as the Rawadids of Tabriz overran much of the province. A grandson of Wasudan named Mars Ubben Ishmi retained a small portion of Azerbaijan until 984 when he was captured by the Rawadids. His son Ibrahim fled to Tarom and would later restore Sallarid rule there after it was seized by the Buwayhids. In Divin, meanwhile, a son of Ibrahim Mars Ubben Muhammad Abul Hajar held power. In 982 and 983 he was persuaded by the king of Kars to invade the domain of the Bagratid king Smerbat II. Some time after this, Abul Hajar led an expedition against Abu Dulaf al-Shaybani, the ruler of Guldan and Nakhchivan, but was defeated and lost Divin to him. He then traveled throughout Georgia and Armenia and visited the Byzantine Emperor Basil II. In 989 and 990 Smerbat II gave him an army to retake Divin, but afterwards revoked his support. Eventually Abul Hajar met his end at the hands of his servants, who strangled him. Tarom under the later Sallarids. After Wasudan's death, his son Nuh succeeded him in Samiran. Nuh died before 989. In that year the Buwayhid Fakh al-Dawla married his widow and then divorced her, taking Samiran in the process. Nuh's young son Justan was brought to Ray. In 997, after Fakh al-Dawla died, Ibrahim Mars Ubben Ishmi took advantage of the weakness of his successor to seize control of Samiran, Zanjan, Abba, and Suharavad. When the Ghaznavid Mahmud of Ghazni conquered Ray in 1029, he sent a force to conquer Ibrahim's territories, but it failed to do so. Ibrahim took Kazvan from the Ghaznavids and defeated Mahmud's son Masud in battle. Masud managed to bribe some of Ibrahim's soldiers to capture him. Ibrahim's son refused to give up the fortress of Shahjahan but was compelled to pay tribute. By 1036 the Sallarids were back in Samiran. In around 1043 the Seljuk Sultan Tofrul Beg received the submission of the Salar of Tarom, who became his vassal and submitted tribute. This Sallarid may have been Justan Ibrahim, who was named as the ruler of Tarom in 1046. In 1062 Tofrul went to Samiran and again received tribute from its ruler, Musafir. This is the last Sallarid who is known. It is likely that the dynasty was shortly afterwards wiped out by the assassins of Alamat, who dismantled the fortress of Samiran. Latterly, the dynasty was assimilated by Seljuk Turks.